Today, we're going to set the stroke on the BP-60 rivet nut tool. First thing you want to do is make sure that the anvil, this is the anvil of the tool, this is the locking nut, it's part of the nose assembly. We want to make sure that the anvil is all the way down in its furthest position, exposing as much mandrel as possible. That way we have threads sticking out of the back when we begin to set the stroke on the rivet nut tool. Second, you'll notice that on the top of the rivet nut tool, there's a plus or minus gauge. That gauge determines the amount of stroke that the tool will apply. The BP-60 rivet nut tool has a stroke that ranges from 0 to 7 millimeters. And that stroke determines how much stroke is required to collapse the collapse wall on the rivet nut so that it properly sets in the workpiece. Next, what we want to do to adjust the stroke is we want to start by getting the tool at its 0 stroke and work our way up so that we have it properly set for the particular application, the particular rivet nut application that we are actually going to be using. So let's plug the tool in and get started. Once the tool is in, we're going to pull the trigger all the way back to see what kind of stroke we have. So we have a bit of stroke there. We want to pull the trigger all the way back and turn it all the way to 0. Once we've done that, try it again. We'll see that the stroke on the tool is not moving at all. Next, what we want to do is set it for about 3 millimeters. If we look at the rivet nut, the collapse wall normally takes about 2 millimeters or 3 millimeters of collapse to set the insert. So we want to start by turning the adjustment knob toward the positive direction so that we can get the desired stroke. We're going to start by turning it about 3 full revolutions, or roughly about 3 millimeters, 3 millimeters, and we'll try the insert. We'll pull the trigger halfway, pull it down into the insert, and set it, release it, spin it off. That's pretty close. When we get that close, we want to pull it again, all the way down, turn it another full revolution, try it again, see if we're there. Spin it onto the tool, pull it, release it back out. Looks like we got a good set. Let's try one on the workpiece and see how we're doing. We're going to pull the trigger down, set the insert, release it back out. Perfectly placed insert. That's lovely. Okay, a couple considerations on the BP-60 rivet nut tool, or really any rivet nut tool that has a lot of pulling force. One of the advantages of a tool like this is that you can pull inserts from 3 millimeters on up to 12 millimeters, or in imperial sizes from 632 on up to ½ inch. One of the considerations that you always want to keep in mind with a tool like this is that when you're working with smaller mandrels, because of the amount of power, if the stroke is not set properly, you can break mandrels quite easily because of the amount of pulling force that is available on these tools. A second consideration is you can also break mandrels if the stroke is not set properly by double stroking. Double stroking is when you set up an insert, you pull it in halfway. If the stroke is not set, then the operator pulls the trigger and pulls the insert down further, and then tries to set the insert, but all the force, rather than setting the insert properly, is going against all the internal components of the tool and on the mandrel, which means you'll have broken mandrels and perhaps strip threads on your insert. So if the stroke is set properly, you'll have a beautiful insert placement, and that's how you set the stroke on a BP-60 rivet nut tool.